What is going on, and welcome back into Brotherly Studios, everybody. Who's ready for another awesome YouTube masterclass on making what? YouTube thumbnails. Now, in this video, we're going to be creating an awesome thumbnail using Procreate for what? Yes, Pokemon Jigglypuff. Yes, indeedy, we're going to be creating an awesome thumbnail for, yes, Jigglypuff. I'm super excited to get this project done. Not only have I been sitting on the actual digital recorded content for a while there, but I've also just had the project sitting in my studio for way too long. I just need to go ahead and kind of finish out the project, post the rest of the videos in the playlist, and get moving along with some other projects in the studio. So focusing on this here, now that we've already created the actual painting itself, and I've already got this video posted here. So if you were able to check out the previous content of me actually painting this awesome little circular canvas, we also used DOS Air Dry Clay to create all the appendages, and we created an awesome little painting here. So at this point, what we're doing is we're going to go ahead and upload just a generic image of me holding the painting in my hand here. Now, we do have a few other videos coming out after this one. Some of them will be the varnishing video, as well as creating a special accessory that Jigglypuff usually carries along with her. But just be aware that those are separate videos in their own entirety. So we're not going to reference them too much in this video. And each video will be slightly different when I create those thumbnails, just because I want each one to look a little bit different when you look at the playlist. So what I'm doing here is now I've already created a kind of a picture of me. It's kind of bleached out. It's me just in the studio during the day. And I kind of just took it in the fly, just a real quick reference photo of myself with Jigglypuff, as well as a little fan brush there. So we'll kind of detail the fan brush later on in this video, so stay tuned for that. We'll actually pull out the paintbrush inside Procreate, and we'll give a little bit of details and some artisticness to kind of spread out and just add a little bit of diversity to the overall flat images that we upload. I'm right here going out of my way just to go ahead and erase the background. I like to do this manually instead of using a select tool. I really just do enjoy it, and I can really nitpick over the fine lines and edges, and I can refine those down if I want to. So for instance, if I want to leave a little bit of a glare on each of the corners or a little of the background showing, then I can leave that on there if I choose to. It also allows me to really define my edges so that I know that I don't unselect or deselect something and then something's left behind without me wanting it to be there. Everything that is in the image and that I post to my thumbnail is because I want it to be there. It's not because it's something that I just forgot or didn't detail. So as you can see here, we're just going to go ahead and continually remove the existing background of the studio from behind me, and then that way it's just me and Jigglypuff alone. Yes, Jigglypuff, we're alone in the image now together. So once I get done with that, I'm able at this point to kind of zoom out here. Now this is the image that I see on my iPad. I'm doing a screen record here, and I'm really wanting you guys to see what I see when I'm working on the images. So I really do zoom in quite often. And sometimes if you do like a time-lapse video through Procreate and then upload it, like for instance the very intro to the video, it kind of shows the overall full tutorial in its entirety in like a 30-second time-lapse that I've shrunk down to a 15-second one. It kind of really doesn't justify the amount of time and effort that you put into it. And by recording my screen, I can show you how I really kind of tinker with the images by zooming in and out and kind of zooming in to erase the background. So I've uploaded the generic Jigglypuff background that we've used for the entire series now. As stated in some of my other videos, I like to try to keep the backgrounds series specific, if not just the overall saturation, hue, and the brightness that I'm tinkering with here to try to get the contrast correct the way that I want it. But I kind of want it to have the overall same design throughout the series, so that way if somebody's looking at just the videos on my YouTube channel, they can pop those out in their mind's eye and say, those probably go together in the same playlist. And then once they click the video itself, it kind of will lead them into individual playlists and things like that. So as you can see, I did darken the background quite a bit there. So we want to make sure that is kind of dark, and then that way it makes me and Jigglypuff here in the foreground there pop out even more. Now I'm going to go ahead and go around myself with a marker brush there, and we're going to go ahead and apply a Gaussian blur around me, myself, and I, and Jigglypuff too. So now this is going to begin by a pink, and I started with pink on this Gaussian blur because I had used pink in a previous content video, and it turned out quite good. So I'm just going to go ahead and start with pink, and then of course I'm probably going to tinker with the overall look of this as we move forward into the content. So as we can see there, I'm going to go ahead and go with the Gauge-On Blur, and we're going to kind of blend this out a little bit. Now you can blend this out as much as you want. As you can see, it really just adds a nice little haze to the exterior of me and Jigglypuff. And I'm really happy with how it looks so far. I'm actually blending that out quite a bit more than usual, and I'm only applying one layer. You can double up on the layers and really intensify the overall opaqueness of that Gauge-On Blur if you wanted to, but I'm going to kind of keep it simple. Now, I added a separate layer here, and I'm going to go over my finger, and I actually messed this up quite a few times before I remember to put a new layer on top of my existing layer, because I was painting on top of this layer of me and Jigglypuff. My mistake. Let me go ahead and switch this up a little bit, and then we'll actually be able to kind of paint over my coat there on a different layer here. And what we're going to do is we're just going to go around my hand there. Now, I wanted to do this just because it would add a little bit of diversity to that corner of the thumbnail there, and it kind of accents the fact that my hand is holding the corner of the brush. Otherwise, it really doesn't draw much eye, and it's just a really boring corner of the image there. Now, I will also Gauge-On Blur that as well, and it really does take a little bit of that color away there, but it's just a little small thing that really kind of is, it's not something you really think about, but I want to make sure that the overall thumbnail is completed, or it feels complete. Here is where I actually correct my mistake there and actually created an actual new layer, whereas I had not done that before. And it needs to be a new layer because I'm going to erase a little bit of where it kind of cascades or Gauge-On Blurs over my finger there. Because remember that this hand and my jacket are on the same layer, and I never separated those. So when you add that extra layer of Gauge-On Blur, when you blend it, it kind of blends over my original image. And I don't want that. And it needs to be kind of around and behind my hand there. To simulate that, I will go ahead and highlight the Gauge-On Blur, and I'll erase over my skin there, and then it makes it look like that Gauge-On Blur is behind my hand, if that makes any sense. So because it's a separate layer, I can also tinker with it and change the color. If I left it on the same layer as my coat and my hand, you cannot change the hue and the saturation. Or even just the color in general, and I do intend to change the color slightly. So we started off with a very, very hot pink here. This is the same general pink that I had used for the previous thumbnail video for earlier stages in the series. Now just remember that video that I'm referencing is when we were using the gessoed white canvas. So that canvas was very bleached out, and the contrast between the white bleached out canvas with all of its appendages and the pink background really popped and really went well together. Because my Jigglypuff here is so pink, it kind of dilutes that pink border that I had around myself. So let's go ahead and change the brightness here. As I increase the brightness there, it actually brings me and the Jigglypuff quite forward in the image here. So I go ahead and I'm debating whether I want it to be a pure white, or if I want it to be like the pink that I've referenced before. I decided to cut it in half and make a light pink color in general. That way it's not just pure white, but it also has a little bit of pink hue too. Next in the video here is I'm going to open up a new image here, and I'm actually going to choose a oil brush here in my brush selector tool here. And we're going to actually create a cool little paint effect here. I felt like that the middle of the thumbnail was just missing something, and I wanted something to really draw the eye towards my little fan brush there. I know that it's very stereotypical for a lot of artists to take a picture with their art or their painting with themselves in the image with a fan brush, or like, this is what I painted. I painted this right here. But in doing so, what I'm allowing the viewer to do is to see, like, hey, look, you know, instead of them just viewing the image, scrolling on by, seeing me, or just seeing Jigglypuff, it just simply shows that I painted this. And by having this nice bright swoop in the middle of the thumbnail, it brings a little extra character between me and the image of Jigglypuff. Obviously, I'm holding Jigglypuff. Yes, I am. But it just brings us together a little bit more, and it kind of fills in a little bit of this space between me and the reference item that I'm holding, or the artistic item. I really think this is kind of cool, and that's really what I wanted to focus on in this portion of the video here. So as you know, I have a large amount of thumbnail creation videos, and as I create more art videos for series, then this ever-growing playlist will get bigger and bigger. So it's always evolving, and I want to do something new every time to challenge myself. Now, I created just a general layer of pink here to begin with, and it is a very vibrant pink, and I did change the overall hue of that to match the existing pink swirls in the background. So I had not messed with that, but what I'm doing is I'm just going to go ahead and reuse that same color and change the hue to match. And what I'm going to do is, because I'm just adding this, it makes it look like this and that background pink color are actually the same image, but they're not. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to go ahead and change the color of my color picker here, and I'm going to kind of nitpick over the two brushes. There's a dry brush oil, and then there's like more of a thick brush oil. And I'm going to go back and forth between the two. And what I'll do is I'll slowly increase the brightness of the colors as I go through. As you can see there, I have almost a pure titanium white now on the oil brush there. And what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of tinker with this a little bit here and there until we can get an overall just over cascade of colors on the existing bright pink background. Now, I do have a little bit of a lighter pink there as well, don't forget. So there's a little bit of a cascading in colors there just to create some variation. And I'll zoom out every so often until I really get an idea of how I would like for that swooping color of motion to be. It's not really supposed to, or it doesn't have to look like it's like a pure paint stroke, but it's just supposed to look very cool, and it's going to add a little bit of diversity to the middle of that image there. And when you look at the full image on like a TV screen, or you're scrolling and it's eye-popping, it really does stand out quite a bit. Now, I'm increasing more of a Blanco white, so I want to say titanium white because I'm an artist, but it's more of just a white, a pure white out of the color picker there. And what I'm doing is I am increasing the overall highlights on some of those existing white dry brush marks from the oil brush. And I'm just going to go ahead and kind of sporadically put these in here. As you can see, it's really bringing up the color there in the middle of the picture there. So in the middle of the painting is really starting to pop. Now, I do Gauge-On Blur that maybe like 2 or 3%, not enough to do anything, but it kind of blends those colors ever so much, and it makes it feel like they're all together. Now, I'm going to go ahead and change the kind of fade out the edges a little bit there just to kind of get rid of any kind of excess. I do lower the opacity of the eraser there as I erase some of those exterior edges of that paint stroke. Just to kind of fade them in a little bit. Not so hard edges that you would see normally, but I also want it to look like that paint stroke is kind of coming from behind, but not just that, also from the edge of the Jigglypuff there. It's just supposed to look really fun, really cool. It's just going to be like a little swooping paint motion. It's very nice, right? I really do think that kind of brings over the overall image together quite well. So at this point now, you can really see that the overall color combinations are quite well. Now just remember that we also darken the background to create this nice contrast between us and the background there. It's very important to make sure that whatever you do put on the thumbnail, not only do you try to make it vibrant, but you need to make sure that the contrast between the background and the selected image of focus are correct. So I could continuously add picture and picture and picture over this as long as I kind of make sure that the contrast is correct. I want to be able to control where the viewer's eye pulls. And right now, when you zoom all the way out, it doesn't really focus on the background. Instead of your eye mainly focuses on, hey, there's a guy in this image. He's holding, what is that? That is Jigglypuff, and you see them being connected by my brush. So although you do see me in the image, and because I'm the artist, but what you're really thinking in your mind's eye is, wow, that's Jigglypuff. That looks pretty cool. And then you see this paint stroke, and just by knowing that that's a paintbrush or a paint stroke, you know that, hey, he's painting Jigglypuff in some way. And I'm hoping that that's what people are picking up when I'm putting down on this thumbnail. Now, of course, all thumbnails are different, and I look forward to having the A and the B thumbnail selection here soon, so I'll do more than likely a few different thumbnails for each individual piece of content, and then let YouTube kind of nitpick over which one is the overall better image for my viewers. Exporting that into the iPad, and then we're going to upload that into Canva. Yes, Canva! And we're going to use the same overlay image from the original gessoing video. Now that's the one where we had used the pink Gauge-On Blur for the background there, which we made a lighter version for this. And we're going to also just go ahead and use that same font and we're going to put Jigglypuff in the upper right hand corner of this thumbnail. Now it doesn't really need the font, but I'm going to go ahead and include the font in there. It just kind of brings it all together, and I think that it really does add a little bit of character to it. Now I am in the effects tool here under the font, and I'm going to go ahead and increase the intensity quite a bit here so it creates just a nice white lettering with a pink haze behind it. And just like that, the last portion of the video is just logging into YouTube Studio and overriding that existing boring auto-picked screenshot with our new thumbnail. There it is. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure you hit the subscribe and like button, and make sure you check out the playlist listed here if you want to see some more awesome YouTube content creation. Otherwise, guys, I will catch you on the next awesome video. Later.